Hi guys, welcome to this week's vlog, and I want to show you something that, this is actually my personal system for self-defense. I know a lot of people out there, they think taking traditional martial arts route will make them a better fighters on the street. That will always happen, and I'm not knocking any martial arts, because if you're not going to martial art, you've never had your ass kicked in a martial art. So a lot of people are just saying boxing's no good because you can't use your legs. You've never been knocked out by Mike Tyson's jab. Alright? So, having said that, self-defense, to me, is something which it has to be easy to learn, has to be really quick, but obviously throughout years and years and years and years of doing a martial art, you're obviously going to become a master at it. People who've done karate for 20 years don't even watch this. You don't need to watch this. People who've done Muay Thai or boxing for 20 years, 10 years, you don't even need to watch this. If you're a skinny kid in the schoolyard and you're getting picked on, or you're a 15-year-old girl and there's a mugger who's twice your size, he's 30 years old, twice your age, twice your size, and he's going to take you into a very dark alley, this is for you. This is self-defense that I employ, because on the street, I don't play with rules. There's no rules, there's no honor, there's nothing, because you don't know what's going to happen. You need to train for the worst. The unfortunate thing is, every single martial art at one point was from the battlefield. I mean, boxing was from the streets, initially. Muay Thai developed between the Thai and the Burmese when they were at war, and karate developed through the local public to defend themselves from samurais, and Jiu-Jitsu developed from countering the samurai's armor and so on. And well, they were trained assassins anyway. So every single martial art was badass at one point, but unfortunately, the government's come in, put rules to it. You want kids to learn nice, traditional styles, and it needs to look nice. So the government put in rules, you can't strike that, you can't strike that, you can't strike that. Even though that if you ask any martial art instructor, when you ask them, when shit hits the fan, what do? Go straight for the groin, go straight for the eyes, go straight for the throat. They will tell you every single time. So, having said that, I'm going to show you a martial arts system that I didn't really create this, but it's more of a Krav Maga style caveman fighting that I've tweaked a little bit, specifically for the street. So you're going to see movements in it that aren't really taught in traditional karate, traditional Muay Thai. Now, as I said, if you've been doing this for 10 years, like if you're doing Muay Thai for 20 years, you've got it made. But when you're in a position which you haven't trained for, that's when things go wrong, because your muscle memory doesn't kick in, you play by rules, and you've literally got half a second to a second to get rid of that danger. I'm going to go over the basic philosophy first, and then the next part I'll bring my training partner in, and we'll basically go over some situations that you might be in, such as headlocks, when someone's fully mounted you in jiu-jitsu, when someone's in your guard, or when someone is approaching you, when someone bear hugs you from behind, and so on. There are 6 points in the human body that we want to hit. First one's the feet. You want to step down on the feet. If you step down on the feet, that causes the person to lose balance. If you step on their foot and you give them a good hip and shoulder, you can throw them off balance. But the foot is one of those distraction points. If you hit it hard enough, it distracts the opponent from the fight. It's painful, they start wobbling around, they lose their balance, they loosen their grip, their mind is taken from the fight, and so you can follow up with another strike without them thinking where the next strike's coming from. They're just in so much pain. The only thing they're thinking about is getting their feet away from your feet so you don't step on it again. So the foot is a distraction point. The next point is the knees. If you kick the front of the knees, you'll break the kneecap. That's what I call a stoppage point. When you hit the back of the knee, that's what I call a control point. You hit the back of the knee, it's not necessarily painful, but I can tell you, every scenario, if you kick the back of the knee hard enough, right in the crux there, they'll fall straight down. If you want to throw someone, I know people who step around, they put the body weight, you've got to throw the ass cheek out this way. The best thing to do is to step behind someone, grab them by the throat, push their throat, and just push the throat down, and just kick straight to the back of the knee, and it'll take them straight down. The next point, the third point, is the groin. This is a stoppage point, obviously. If I knee, kick, hammer fist, slap this point, it will stop the fight, because it's an area that is very, very painful, and it continues on for a very, very long time. In every single combination you'll see in the next video, it involves a stoppage point, whether it be the groin or whether it be another stoppage point, which I'm going to explain in a second, which is the throat. The throat is the next stoppage point. If you strike the throat with less than, or with as much as 15 pounds of pressure, that's enough to swat a fly. That's like that. If you do that, and you concentrate that in the blade of your arm, if you do that, that will collapse the throat. It takes less than 50 pounds of pressure. It's like me trying to crush a beer can or swat a fly. It doesn't take much force. It's a stoppage point because the throat will swell and air circulation will be restricted to the brain. for a brief period of time. If you strike the back of the throat or the neck, if you strike the back of the neck, the person will go unconscious. So when they're like, if you hit them in the groin, they go like that, and you hit them in the back of the neck, bang, they're going down. So 1, 2, and they'll be down on the ground. In fact, it's a very effective combination. Bang, bang, they're down. So the throat is a very interesting point. If you gouge the front of the throat with one finger or two fingers and you push down into the clavicle, you grab someone back of someone's neck and you push in and push down, it's one of the most painful things you can do. So keep that in mind. The next point is the eyes. And the eyes are not a knockout point, they're not a stoppage point, but they are a control and distraction point. It's a control point because if I push someone's eyeball in, it's going to make them go back. And it's a distraction point because it's damn painful. If you've never been gouged in the eye before, get your thumb, press it into your eye and see how far you can go. For those who are not stupid enough to do that, you already know how painful that is. If I want to get someone off me, I will push an eyeball. And you'll find that pushing the eyes is really common in jiu-jitsu where their head is right there. Or in wrestling or in jiu-jitsu where their head is close to your body, you can gouge the eyes out and that forces them to move. Now the last point, and it's probably my favourite point, are the ears. They're both a control point and a stoppage point. If I grab someone's ear, it's very sweaty, it's very slippery, there's oil from the hair, and it's very hard to grab that ear. But if you can, in certain situations, which I will show you, you can grab the head, and once you've got the head, he ain't getting out of that. Because if you stick your thumb straight in the ear hole and then put your index finger over the top of your thumb and grab the earpiece between your thumb and your index, and you can pull that, you can't get out of that. That is a solid, well, I don't know what they call the ear lock, but that's a solid hole, and you can't get out of that because it might rip their ear off. If you do that, you can command the person around, you can make the head go up, the head go down, you can make it go side to side, and you'll find that in jiu-jitsu, certain jiu-jitsu holds, we will gouge your eye and hold the ear, and if we push the ear, or if we push the eyeball in and we pull the ear down, it will turn the head, and there's nothing the opponent can do, there's nothing they can do. It is so painful, they will be forced to move their head, and if they force their head to move, or if their head moves, the body moves with it, and that's how you can get someone off if they're, say, in half guard, or in full guard, or whatever. Now, if you smack the ears, that's a stoppage point. Because the brain, well, the ears are a very sensitive organ. They're a very sensitive sensory organ, like your eyes and your taste and your touch, but this is a very sensitive organ. If there's too much going on up here, if the wavelengths and the pressure is smashing the eardrums, that is a lot of information for the brain to take in. The brain goes into a sensory overload and immediately blacks out. If you don't believe me, there's another guy on YouTube, the Fat Aussie Bastard, he basically how to take a big man down, how to knock a big man out. He basically just goes 1, 2, 3. I've done that on someone, and someone has done it on me, and I can validate that that works. So, the first thing you want to do is if you can't get this point, if you go for the ears, that'll take him straight down. Doing that. We'll knock him out every single time. So, that's the basic philosophy, these 6 points. And I only say these 6 points because if you ever get lost, refer back to them. I mean, we do have things like punching biceps and breaking fingers, and you can pull hair if you want, but I don't do that because maybe the opponent's bald. So we do incorporate other things, which I'm going to show you, and you're going to have to tweak them a little bit in each scenario. But as I said, the next video, we're going to have some scenarios, some very common scenarios on the street, between an unarmed and unarmed opponent.